What's up, everyone? Welcome into our first NBA DFS DraftKings Picks video, and this one is for Tuesday, October 19th, also known as opening day for the NBA season. We have a very small slate, only two games, very good games though. Brooklyn Nets versus Milwaukee Bucks and Golden State Warriors versus the Los Angeles Lakers. I am your host, Bales. I do want to quick outline this podcast a little bit before we get into all the in-depth stuff because there's not actually that much to go over tonight. So for the season, if you are with dfskarma.com, that is where you will find all of our content. We have free articles. We have premium articles this season. Ben will be doing a core plays article that is premium for our subscribers. We also, if you buy a core plays package on the website, or you can find that in the description below, you will get all of our core plays for DraftKings and FanDuel, which comes from a variety of our staff members, not just myself and Ben. We do have, I believe, 5 core plays for DraftKings, 5 for FanDuel, obviously with the optimal, and then GPPs off of that. You will also get into our premium Discord. So that's a spot where a lot goes on for the NBA season. It's very helpful to be in there for when there's late scratches, everything along those lines. But we do have free stuff as well, dfskarma.com. Again, my article will be free. We will have another free article that focuses more on tournament plays, specifically larger field tournaments. And then I'm doing the game theory article that I do for NFL, but obviously for basketball. On top of that, we will have these podcasts that are recorded the night before. They will be released either the night before or early in the morning. And then around an hour before lock or so, Ben is going to be going live. So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn on the notifications so you don't ever miss that, because a ton of info can be had at that point as well. If you enjoy this video, believe that the content is useful, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Comment anything that you want for the NBA slate. Ask any questions, just players that you like, all that kind of stuff. I will start out this podcast by saying the more engagement that we get from you guys, likes, subscribes to the channels, comments, all that good stuff, the more likely I am to be able to convince the higher-ups at Karma that we should be giving out some free stuff, such as our core plays package, on this stream. So by all means, go ahead, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, including drop either your favorite plays or just questions that you have. There are only 2 games tonight. I already outlined what the games are. Quick to go over the injury news. Obviously, at this point, Kyrie Irving is not playing for the Brooklyn Nets. You also have for Milwaukee, Semi Ojeleye, Bobby Portis, and Rodney Hood all out. In the Golden State Los Angeles game, you have Jonathan Kuminga is not going to make his debut. Jeff Doughton is also out for Golden State. And then on the other side, Wayne Ellington is out, but Kendrick Nunn is questionable. I believe at the moment that is the only questionable player on this slate. Chris Middleton and Malik Monk were bumped up to probable. Both are going to play. So not too much in terms of injury going on. Obviously, Brooklyn will be without one of their star players in Kyrie Irving, who I don't believe he will be playing with the team until everything kind of gets settled with his vaccine status and all of that stuff. So for now, it's just an important spot for us to note. I will say Dante DiVincenzo is also out, and then you have guys that are more obvious. James Wiseman, Klay Thompson out as well for Golden State. You have Trevor Ariza out at the moment for Los Angeles. So a lot of stuff going on there. Talon Horton-Tucker also. Those are more of the obvious options that are going to miss this game, rather than anyone that realistically more or less had a chance to play. We will go position by position. Maybe I'll give a bold call. Essentially, these podcasts will be kind of an injury report, position by position, where we talk about just our favorite plays at each of the 5 positions. And then maybe a bold call or something at the end. Who knows? Also, these are not always just going to be solo podcasts. A lot of the times they will be. I'll be doing them. Sriracha will be doing them. But we're bringing on some new faces at Karma throughout the season as well. And they will be part of these podcasts more or less as often as we can possibly make them. I do believe that tomorrow we will see Spike debut with me because we have a massive 11-game slate. It does make sense to get more thoughts on what's going on, whereas a 2-game slate, it's a little bit easier to kind of dissect everything that's happening. But just specifically in terms of what I'm interested in, this slate is pretty interesting. I think at the top of point guard, you have 2 options that really stand out. I do 100% believe that you can use Steph Curry. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But the 2 that I'm interested in are 1, Harden, who will be the primary ball handler, most likely with Kyrie Irving out. And 2, I do think that Russell Westbrook at 8,600 is a little underpriced. They're going to give him minutes in the mid-30s. They've already announced it. My big issue is I'm concerned of his role with some other stars on the court. How much is LeBron James going to take from him? How much is Anthony Davis going to take from him? And I don't just mean specifically offensively. I mean, obviously, Russell Westbrook has always been an elite rebounder. So that is a major part of his game. And when you play him, you want the triple-double upside. Same with Harden, whereas Curry does have triple-double upside, but you're more or less playing him for his scoring. I think it's going to be the toughest matchup for him. I think it's pretty clear-cut that I'm personally deciding between Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and then Stephen Curry would be my 3 of the higher-priced guys. If I had to pick right now, I do believe that Westbrook is just underpriced at only 8,600. I think there's ways that you're going to be able to fit Russell Westbrook and James Harden into your lineup. I think that is a very good route to go. I have no issues whatsoever with that. Then in kind of like the mid of this, you have the only guy that's really playing, Jrue Holiday at 7,000. I think he's 100% viable. He comes with more than enough upside to exceed value at that price tag. He's one of the better plays on the slate as well. I think the only edge here that James Harden has over Russell Westbrook and Jrue Holiday, specifically for the point per dollar, is the fact that he's also shooting guard eligible, which kind of gives him a little boost there. I'm intrigued by a player like Jordan Poole. I know a lot of people that have bet on him for most improved player this season. A lot of people have bet on him for 6th man of the year because they're wondering whether he's going to actually start or if he's going to play the 6th man role for Golden State. I don't necessarily know at the moment what their plan is, but I am intrigued by him. I think he's more of a tournament option at the moment. I think if you're spending down here in cash, which would not be my preferred route, you're probably looking at someone like Kendrick Nunn, if he's able to play, or Patty Mills under 4,000 definitely makes sense at this point. I think that Mills probably doesn't get a ridiculous amount of minutes or anything, but with Irving out, he probably gets in the low to mid-20s. And we've pretty much seen that he does have the ability to light up the scoreboard. Now add in that you have someone like James Harden assisting him the ball, and I do think that he makes a lot of sense at the moment. Kendrick Nunn also is not going to be a primary scorer for LA, but he can contribute in multiple ways, and he's only 4,300 at the moment. With that being said, I think Jordan Poole has the most upside of those guys because I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if Poole came out and played roughly 30 minutes in this game, and obviously we know that he has a ton of scoring potential. With that being said, I also wouldn't be shocked if Andrew Wiggins slides over to shooting guard and Poole basically just gets minutes off of the bench in this spot. So a lot to dissect yet between now and when the games actually start, which again is a major reason why you guys should be getting in our Discord. You can go to chatdfs.com and get in for free. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, there's premium channels for Core Play subscribers as well. And I believe that, truthfully, NBA is probably the most useful of the sports for Discord just because of the way that the news comes in and all that stuff. At shooting guard, I think it's pretty clear-cut that James Harden is the top play here. Andrew Wiggins should continue with a relatively large role. I think he's pretty appropriately priced, so I wouldn't go out of my way to get him in my lineup, but at the same time, I do believe that he comes with plenty of upside for a $6,200 price tag. We have the guys that we talked about at point guard, which was Jordan Poole, Kendrick Nunn, and Patty Mills. All of them make sense. Grayson Allen at 3,800 is reasonable. I absolutely hate even considering this recommendation, but 2 games and you kind of have to go somewhere for salary relief. So if he's going to get at least decent minutes for Milwaukee, I do think that Grayson Allen is viable. At 3,600, Bruce Brown is probably my favorite cheap option. I wouldn't expect him necessarily to be locked into a ridiculous amount of minutes, as in 30 plus, but getting in the 20s, 100% viable. And he's one of the better point per dollar or point per minute options down with that low of a price tag. So I do think that Bruce Brown would probably be my favorite shooting guard if you spend down. Outside of that, there's not a ton to love here. I feel like you're probably just going up to James Harden here and trying to fit other stuff elsewhere. But if you do need to spend down, the guys that stick out are, again, Kendrick Nunn, if he's starting. Grayson Allen, I think, is fine. Patty Mills, and then Bruce Brown, with Brown being my top option of any of those 4. At small forward, it looks as if Chris Middleton is pretty grossly mispriced. He's 7,200, should be significantly higher. I do believe that Kevin Durant and LeBron James are 100% in play, especially in these types of matchups. You know, it's opening night. They're in tough games. These are just kind of the games that players like Kevin Durant and LeBron James thrives in. I think Durant is safer than James because we could see LeBron take, I wouldn't necessarily say a backseat, but we could see Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis take over some of that usage so they don't have to have LeBron, touching the ball every possession, all kinds of stuff, and they can kind of save him for later in the season as he gets a bit older. Of everyone, though, Chris Middleton is the guy that sticks out because he's too cheap, especially playing at home, and we saw him perform well against Brooklyn all last season, essentially. So I would be shocked if all of a sudden that has changed. Again, you have Wiggins, Grayson Allen, Bruce Brown. They're both viable options. 2 more that are cheap and could get some minutes: Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Bembry. I don't necessarily love either of them. I do think that of the 2, Bazemore has the ability to kind of catch fire and boast some upside, especially if he's going to be getting some minutes, but I don't necessarily love him for LA. He's just not going to be a massive part of the offense or anything. So a few solid options, with just Chris Middleton being the guy that really sticks out at small forward. At power forward, again, any of the high-priced guys I think are 100% viable. Giannis at 10,000, still completely can use him. Kevin Durant on the other side of that game, LeBron James. Anthony Davis at 88, I feel like I would prefer LeBron at that point, and for only 200 more, I feel like you're probably going to be able to get him there. I think Anthony Davis is viable. I think it's a solid matchup. He could perform well in this type of a game. But I just also believe that he's probably the riskiest of the big 3 now in Los Angeles. So I probably won't end up on too much Anthony Davis on this slate. Draymond Green, 100% fine with. And then you probably dip down a bit more. Carmelo Anthony being the top option. Juan Toscano Anderson, I think, is relatively okay, but pretty clear cut if you're spending down at power forward, which I do believe is completely viable if you want to spend up at point guard and shooting guard, because they're just significantly better positions, in my opinion, on the slate. Carmelo Anthony is probably the option that you side with at under 4,000. At center, honestly, it feels relatively clear where you're going. You're going to go LaMarcus Aldridge. I feel like basically everyone's going to use Aldridge. 3,900. He's probably getting minutes in the mid-20s. I'd assume he starts at center for Brooklyn. And if that's the case, you kind of just have to lock him in on this type of a slate. I think there's other options that can be considered. Draymond Green, Giannis, Anthony Davis, all relatively fine. If Kevin Looney draws the start at 4,100, I think you can take your shot there. It's just that LaMarcus Aldridge is so obvious on the slate that it's tough to really go anywhere else, regardless of who the player is. Sandro, I don't even want to really butcher his name. Mamuklashvili does come with some upside. I think it depends on the type of minutes he gets, but with Bobby Portis out, we could see him pick up, I would guess, in the teens. And at 3,000, he's flashed already the ability to score fantasy points in a hurry. So if you want to get kind of weird and need a salary relief, I do think that he's relatively viable. It's just you probably use him in the utility position with LaMarcus Aldridge in center as well. So that about does it for what I'm looking at. Like I said, it's only 2 games. There's not a ton to go over. You can head to dfskarma.com to get all of our thoughts for tonight. Click under pricing and you'll find our core plays packages. Also, you can just go in the description below. Everything you possibly need is listed in there. Again, the more engagement you guys give us, the more likely we are to be able to convince them to give away some free stuff on this, including weekly, maybe monthly core plays. So please, if you enjoy the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications because we will be doing live streaming with Ben throughout the season. And then comment your favorite plays, any bold calls that you guys have, questions. I will be in throughout the day to answer them. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will be back tomorrow night for a significantly bigger slate that you're probably going to have to do more thinking on because it's not only 2 games. But until then, good luck.